guys, Josh here. Welcome back to Demates. From now on, this will be the main channel we'll be posting videos on, so be sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. Today I'll be talking about the top 10 things you should know before you play The Last of Us Part 2. Spoiler warning, before we begin, this video contains spoilers in The Last of Us Part 1, so if you haven't played the first game, I suggest you don't continue watching beyond this point. In the first game, the story began in Austin, Texas, but a good chunk of the game was set in Boston. Once Ellie and Joel's journey began, they traveled through places like Billstown and Lincoln, Pittsburgh, Jackson County, which is the place they settled down and leading to the second game, the University of Eastern Colorado, Silver Lake, and finally Salt Lake City, where they finally find the Fireflies. After Joel kills Marlene, he takes Ellie back to Jackson County, where they are settled in for the next 5 years, leading to the second game where we start out in Jackson County 5 years later. This is based in the settlement now. From what we were told, most of the game is going to be set in Seattle, and not too long ago we were shown footage of beautiful terrains and seasons throughout the game. Overall, I'd say the new engine Naughty Dog used for the game is no less than amazing, considering how good the graphics look from what we've seen so far. This is something a lot of people are excited about because of the new variety of the workbench. In the first game, you were only able to upgrade your weapon to an extent and with a limited variety of upgrades that were basically the same for each weapon. In the second game, there's more variety, so whatever you do with your weapons, it can suit your playstyle. There are better animations for the workbench where you can actually see Ellie work on and upgrade the weapon instead of just buying it and leaving. It was also said that you are not safe at the workbench and people can actually attack you while you're upgrading or doing whatever you need to be doing. Ellie can still be attacked while on the workbench, especially if it's in an area where enemies are around. As said by Neil, you are never completely safe wherever you are, which is what makes this game so immersive and keeps players' attention throughout the whole experience. From what we've seen, there are new factions in the game, a group called the WLF, the Washington Liberation Front, which originally was a group that was fighting the military for control, then won, and now kills any outsiders that trespass on their territory. Another new faction is the sneaky and dangerous Seraphites, a religious group that has rejected technology of the old world and has built everything from the ground up. These two factions were said to be an important part into the cycle of violence. Both factions were said to create different experiences mechanically, where the WLF uses military weaponry and is mostly based on the machine guns, but the Seraphites are more different since they use bows and are able to sneak up on Ellie. Both factions bring different sets of combat mechanics that can really bring the story and experience together well. Hopefully after the release we get an update on what they plan to do for a multiplayer mode. Two things almost every Last of Us fan was excited about was the fact that Ellie can now swim and has also learned to play the guitar. Originally in the first game, Ellie was unable to swim, so we usually had to look for a wooden plank to cross her over the water. It was a good thing, but it ended up being tedious in some areas and just kind of annoying. Another interesting thing is that Ellie now knows how to play the guitar after the first game, where Joel promised to teach her how to play after finding the Fireflies. Hopefully we get to finally hear Joel sing for Ellie and be able to see how their relationship has grown throughout the years in Jackson. Ellie is the cure to humanity. If you haven't played through the game already, you know that Ellie is basically the only hope for humanity, considering that she's immune to the cordyceps fungus that has infected about 60% of the world's population. Ellie found out about her immunity close after her and Riley got bitten, and this event took place 3 weeks before the start of the first game. Kind of a harsh way to find out you're the cure for humanity, isn't it? Fun fact for those who are new to The Last of Us, Outbreak Day is on September 26, 2013. So currently, if I were in the world, we'd be 7 years into the pandemic, and the cure for humanity would literally be 2 years old right now. That's such a crazy thing to think about. No one knows Ellie is immune. Naughty Dog may have not officially said this, but by some scenes, like when Ellie and Dina are patrolling and they're both wearing masks, even though Ellie is immune, says that she may not have told Dina about her condition. Considering Joel is very overprotective of Ellie and has told her before never to tell anyone about her immunity, her secret has been kept, and she never told anyone else besides Joel and Tommy. This is an interesting concept Naughty Dog will most likely touch upon in the game, and I can't wait to immerse myself into the story to find out how they were able to continue Ellie and Joel's journey to give us the ending we're looking for after being left on a cliffhanger. As most of you may already know, Ellie is gay. In the first game, we got a Left Behind DLC, which shows the story of Ellie and her best friend Riley, who sneak out, have some fun at a mall, and eventually both get bitten. Before that scene, it shows Ellie and Riley kiss because Ellie doesn't want her to leave for Firefly training. Her first love basically died after she confessed her feelings. Pretty sad to think about that, honestly. In the second game, it also shows Ellie's new love interest, her best friend Dina, who we were told that she dated one of Ellie's other friends, Jesse. We're also shown a small scene where it seems they both confess their feelings when hiding out in a cabin. I'm very interested to see where this relationship goes in the story and how it will develop the connection between them throughout the game. Hopefully we end up actually having her love interest alive this time around. Considering everything Ellie went through in the first game, it would be right to assume that Ellie is very much traumatized by the experiences she has gone through. First and foremost, Ellie literally saw her best friend turn and die. Not to mention they both had just confessed their feelings to each other. Then, when she meets Joel, she finally goes out and experiences how dangerous the outside world she was born into is. When crossing the country, she saw Tess die in front of her, and that was pretty early on in the game. And then when she meets Henry and Sam later on, they both die. And right when they're trying to have a connection, and there's a sense of hope and just unity, something terrible happens. And it's really sad to see these continuous events of stress and agony to these characters when you only want the best for them. Another situation is when she watches Joel almost die in front of her. Then after that, when trying to take care of him, she literally almost gets chopped into food for David's people to eat, and she ends up slicing a machete right into his face several times. You can tell that it was her breaking point. Ellie experienced many traumatic experiences in the first game, so I'm not surprised if the cycle of violence in the second game is a lot more brutal, considering how much she has went through when she was younger. At this point, anyone who is watching this video and hasn't played through the full game, why are you still watching? For those of you who already know, Joel lied to Ellie about what happened to the Fireflies. Instead of telling her the truth that they were going to make the vaccine, but he killed Marlene, he told her that they did find the Fireflies, but there are dozens of other people just like her and they've stopped looking for a cure. He lied because he knew that Ellie wouldn't have had a good reaction in knowing that he was the reason they didn't make a vaccine, because he selfishly didn't want to lose Ellie like he lost Sarah. Ellie had become like a daughter to him, and he wasn't ready to let that go, even for the fate of all humanity. This is where we left off in the first game, and hopefully we find out what problems this lie led to. The Last of Us is known for its amazing narrative, writing, and acting. Considering that the story of how a paternal bond was created between Ellie and Joel, we were told by Neil Druckmann that the story of The Last of Us Part 2 is the complete opposite. This story is based on hate and revenge, where Ellie goes on a quest for revenge, but the reason for this journey is still not known. It could be a quest to avenge someone that has died at the hands of one of the factions, or to seek out the answers that she needs. From the gameplay we've seen, this game is pretty violent and full of gore. Naughty Dog did not hold back, and according to them, we only scratched the surface of violence in the game. No one knows yet what Ellie's journey is about, so we have to wait until the game releases on June 19th, which is less than 2 weeks away, to find out what happened in The Last of Us Part 2.